This is going to be a very unusual show today. I'm actually going to go live on Facebook and going to bring my audience. We're going to have like 800 to 1,000 people joining me live. And you never know who's going to show up when that happens. Wait a second. It looks like Mike Lindell is invading my... What?
Brother, I'm Mike Lindell, the Pillow Man. Tis the season for saving.
No, wait. This sounds like Mike Lindell, Randy Savage from World Wrestling.
You're right, brother. I'm the only one with the footwear, with the bathrobes, with the dog beds. I'm the Pillow Man.
Well, Mike, thanks for dropping by the studio today.
Happy to be here, brother.
All right, look, you want to go to Lance Wall? No. You go to My Patriot. No, My Pillow. No, go to mypillow.com and use code Lance and help Mike. Help Mike.
Me.
We're doing
Help me,
some
please.
intervention. Enjoy the show.
All this time my hands under the law.
Welcome to the Lance Wallnau Show, the show that struggles to be ever optimistic but always honest, prophetic, but in the great Jewish sense of the tradition of the prophets, not kvetching and whining, but trying to give you some good news, and at the same time, letting you know what's really going on. And I believe there is good news, and the good news is that today is a day in which the destiny of America is still being decided. However, what is off the table, I think now, is red wave optimism about a political solution. There is no political solution, although we could stop the hemorrhaging with getting the right kind of conservatives in office. It looks to me as though God is sending a message to America, probably to the Christians in America, because they're the only ones that have ears to hear. And probably not every Christian in America, because a lot of them don't have ears to hear, which is why Jesus said, if anyone has ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying. I think the Spirit of God is saying America is being weighed in the balance and found wanting. Its rulers have conspired together in both parties, Republican and Democrat, under the premise that you, the masses of people, are too stupid and ignorant to govern yourself, and therefore you must be herded like cattle and shepherded by these bad shepherds because they know better than you. This is the spirit of the age. This is what we have in Davos, the World Economic Forum. It's the spirit of Satan that is being pushed down. What I want you to see is the reason why the end times is a time of tribulation is hidden within the Greek word thalipsis. It has to do with pressure. It's when the Bible says that in the end times there's going to be stress, that word thalipsis literally means the compression of layers of pages. So imagine that here's the Bible. If I compress those pages together, it refers to the emotional experience on the inside of a person who feels constrained, like they have no way to go, no outlet, like options are collapsing and that there's no solution in sight. That's what the pressure in the spirit realm is producing on people that are discerning. And they react in different ways. Some go off into, into activism or into despair. And some in our community, and I understand it, they go off into, I would say, kind of hopium, where they collapse and fall back on these ideas that, oh, Lance, God's going to do something. You watch, God's going to do something. I'm a student of history. I'm going to tell you that earnest Christians didn't see Mao fail in taking over China. Stalin did not fail with Lenin in taking over Russia. And there were good Christians in Hungary and in Czechoslovakia when the Soviet Union took over and persecuted the church and persecutes the church today in the underground church in China and in North Korea. What I'm trying to say to Americans is, don't have some kind of of a bizarre narrative in your head that it always is like a game, like a movie where at the 11th hour, the superhero shows up. The Red Sea parts is the theme that a lot of our prophets have been saying for 3 years now. We're at a Red Sea moment. We're at a Red Sea moment. Well, that assumes that you're the Jews and that the judgments that are coming on Egypt are happening because God's delivering you. I don't think the judgments happening in America are delivering the church from something. I think the judgments happening in America are going to be damaging to the church. I think it's going to be a potential threat to the church. So the church is going to have to do something different. My point in saying all this is simply, I want to be, as Rush Limbaugh taught me, the mayor of Realville. And to be the mayor of Realville and to be Pentecostal means that I believe in the supernatural power of God. But I am not needlessly optimistic when God doesn't tell me to be optimistic. I look at Jeremiah. Jeremiah was not popular in Jerusalem because he kept telling them, he told the political, you better reform or Nebuchadnezzar is going to come and take out your nation and take you from your throne. And they didn't reform themselves. And so what happened? Nebuchadnezzar came and took over. The prophetic in the church has to go from us cheering each other about how God's going to deliver us while we eat our popcorn and watch the game. It has to move from there to, I think, being a word of warning. It's going to be more of a Jonah prophetic, where we're going to say, like Paul on the Acts 27, the warning is, do not do this or disaster is coming. You know what made Churchill so effective as a politician is that he was in exile because nobody liked his prophecies. He prophesied Hitler's on the rise, Hitler's military is great, Hitler's going to declare war on us. You watch, Hitler's going to devour nation after nation, and our leaders are asleep. Neville Chamberlain's coming back with, we have peace in our time. Poor Churchill, what, 60 years old, 65 years of old age, is depressed out in Chartwell, painting and working on a brick wall he's trying to do some therapy, till Hitler invades Poland. Suddenly the country says, you know, the only person that actually warned us this was coming was Churchill. Get Winston. Winston, the man who didn't bring out the pom-poms and prophesy victory, was the one they turned to, who gave them a word of victory. But he said it would be blood, sweat, and tears. That wasn't just a music group. That's a quote from a Churchill message. Where we're at now is the church in America, the awakened church, is going to have to rise up and start warning America about what's coming. But here's the catch. You can't be bitter and vindictive either. This is a real sanctifying moment because America's failing on our watch. The church, instead of being smug and sanctimonious, instead of fighting with itself, instead of fighting against the prophets who got the pom-poms, or fighting against, we got the religious crowd that's all, criticizing Christian nationalism. I think everybody needs to lay down their weapon right now and realize God's holding us accountable for the condition of America. It's failing on our watch. I don't expect the unsaved to know what they're doing. Every now and then I'm dealing with Twitter trolls now, and I'm in these dialogues with them. Mercedes is going to come to you in a second, so get ready. And these Twitter trolls, I'm talking, by the way, on Facebook here. I want you to go to Facebook. I'm doing a Facebook Live, rather amateurishly, I might say, with my phone.
This will be on Facebook again, though.
This will be on Facebook again.
So it'll be like a double.
So it'll be a double Facebook for those who didn't watch. But here's my point. We're doing everything we can to try to get this message out. And I'm engaging, like, even on Twitter. If you want to go to @LanceWallnow on Twitter, I'd encourage you to do that because I'm really talking to the trolls there. Now, and I want to start to bring, because some of them are really sincere. Now, many of them are obnoxious, obviously. But I'm finding, at least I'm talking to the Americans I don't normally talk to there, or they're talking to me. And what I'm discovering is this. We have not done a good job witnessing to America. We need to warn it that its drag queen hour at the White House is going to come at a price. You want the destruction of Western civilization? You want anarchy? You want economic meltdown? You want more crime? You want to have your borders invaded? You want more drugs? Continue going in a direction that mocks God's laws and claws at the very membrane of family structure and civil discourse and conversation. Continue to mock faith and watch where that gets you. The blessing that God gave you can be taken from you that fast. And so I think if we would warn like Churchill, but then again, here's the other part. I remember years ago when Clinton was caught in the Monica Lewinsky scandal. It was not a great moment for the church because a lot of our people are myself included, sometimes forget that your religion requires you to love your enemy. You can't pray prevailing prayers for revival in America if you don't love your enemies. Now, that doesn't mean that you love what they're doing. You don't love what they're saying. But like Paul said, we ourselves were one time ignorant, led astray and taken captive by various sins. You've heard the saying, there but for the grace of God go I. You know, the people who are the least condemning are the successful people that come out of a addiction program, like AA. I had a pastor that started me off who was alcoholic, and he got delivered from alcoholism at a Catherine Coleman Miracle Service, but he was an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And he would say to me, you know, the church needs AA more than anything. You need to do a fearless moral inventory on yourself, not on each other. One of the great sins in America in the church is we have this condescending, Pharisaic, proud, I'm right, you're wrong, I know more than you, and you just wait and watch out. Look at the tone of how communication is done. Frequently, it's like big me, little you, and what it proves is that, so let me get back to my point. When Clinton was in the Monica Lewinsky scandal, there was an opportunity where a lot of conservatives and a lot of Republicans and a lot of Christians were just like horrified at what President Clinton was caught doing in the Oval Office. But there was one evangelist whose commentary, I remembered, it was Rodney Howard Brown. He said, newsflash, sinners sin. I'll never forget that. It was a bold statement of the obvious. He said, why are you piling on Bill Clinton with Monica Lewinsky? Is it a surprise to you that people that don't know Jesus do things that are out of control? Listen, people that do know Jesus sometimes do things out of control. Here's his point. Sinners sin. Stop acting like Biden is the demon of hell and that you can't wait to take him down. I was talking to John Bevere the other day, and he was commenting. I was asking him about what he's going to do because he's got a new book coming out. I was talking to him about it, and he was saying, "Hey, Lance, I love what you're doing. Appreciate what you're doing with the Seven Mountains, moving the church out into engaging all media, arts, entertainment, education. Hey, listen, man, I got canceled on TikTok. I'm going to have a staff meeting this week about this. Lost 25,000 people. 200,000 on YouTube. This Communist Party system of cancel culture is out to destroy your livelihood, your life, your reputation, and if they can, they'll destroy your family. So it's not like it's easy to love people that are ideologically that bent out of shape, but it's supernatural. You and I are going to have to do something we haven't done, and that's walk in the Spirit. Walk in the Spirit, go up into an atmosphere where we can put to death our what Bevere said to me. He says, you know, we have to be careful that we can use humor and such to talk about the beliefs, the ideas, and the folly of what people are doing and thinking, and in a sense you can lampoon the thinking, but not the person. because there's a thin line between smearing the person or attacking the person and attacking what they teach and what they say. And and we got into a bit of a theological discussion about it, because I said, well, and then you got the Apostle Paul, who took things very personally at times. I mean, when he was commanding the sorcerer in the book of Acts to be blind, he said, "You child of the devil, you son of the devil, you not stop perverting the straight paths of the Lord." That was very personal. When he rebuked the high priest, he said, "God will strike you, you whitewashed wall. Do you sit there to judge me according to the law, and yet contrary to the law have me ordered to be struck?" But then they said, "But you shall not speak evil of a ruler of the people." Point being, there's a difference between how you deal with certain authorities and how you deal with others. We're going to have to learn the distinction. Mercedes.
But you didn't finish it. He goes, "Forgive me, I didn't know."
He said, "Forgive me, I didn't know. I didn't know." And then he very, very shrewdly read the room and said, "I think I'm going to try this instead." And he just kind of divided the room down the middle. That canny little rabbi. All right, what are the people saying? What's in the people's court, Mercedes?
Okay, so you've been talking, and since we're live on Facebook for this broadcast, which I'm thinking about doing a different way next time, but it is, one of them said, okay, well, what is God telling you for this coming year? And regarding the church, not political. So what do you think is coming this coming year, Lance, for the church, not political?
Good point. Because, for the coming year politically, all that we have is we have conservatives under siege all over the country, and then the gavel is in the hands of Congress. But it looks as though I'm talking to my Facebook crowd here in my phone.
Yes.
But the reality is that's going to be one form of theater going on. What is God saying to the church? Here's what I believe is going to happen. I think further division is going to come, but it isn't necessarily all bad. Sometimes Paul said that there must be divisions among you, that those that are approved may be made manifest. I do believe that the wrecking ball that came to government with Donald Trump is about to hit the church. And it's going to hit the church on a couple of themes. It's going to hit it on Christian nationalism. Now, I'm not going to defend Christian nationalism as a brand, because I believe the devil's already taken it and slandered it, and so I hate taking a term, which was once, by the way, called white Christian nationalism. But the left had to drop that because there was too many minorities that were conservative and MAGA, and it was just creating contradictions and embarrassment for them. So just go with Christian nationalist. So the problem is, no matter what term you use, the enemy will make it radioactive. He will control it, he'll smear it, and then use it against you. So Christian nationalism, however, is going to be an issue, because Christians are not going to roll over and let government take over their nation. Because, frankly, the nation doesn't belong to the devil, it belongs to Jesus. And it belongs to God. And if you want to change the founding of this country by altering the Constitution or altering the rules of the game or the way the Electoral College operates, if that's what the left wants to do, I think it's going to lead towards tremendous civil pushback. So the divisions in America aren't going to get easier. But there again, Paul did say that it is necessary that there be divisions so that those that are approved may be made manifest. The prophetic voices that are loudest are not necessarily the most accurate. They happen to have a platform because people are looking for answers. But even them, even they are realizing a lot of the QAnon stuff is not the Holy Ghost. It's conspiracy theory sources on 4chan and other channels eking and leaking in. And the prophetic is the most vulnerable to that, because frankly, a lot of them are speaking out of their realm of authority. They aren't called to be giving international and national words. And I'll tell you something, as I was with Kim Clement, and if he could miss it on occasion with a prophetic word at a national level, then these other guys are amateurs compared to him. They can miss it. So I think God's humbling the prophetic right now. It'd be wise not to be trying to, tout yourself as God's guru for the nation, although that's a word that's not allowed to be used anymore.
Yeah, you can't say guru according to Stanford. Can I jump in?
I think God is saying, chill, let the prophets be still, and let them hear what the Spirit of God is actually saying. And I think some new prophetic voices are going to rise up. New voices are going to rise. And I'm leery of the voices that are going to be critical of the prophets. I always have been, which is why I don't talk about them. I'm just giving you what's going to happen in the church. I'm leery of the voices that are critical of Christian nationalism, because I believe that the intent and the motivation and the direction and trajectory is absolutely right. Civic engagement to save the nation. Don't give it to the devil. But I think these things are going to be producing great awakening. I think our meetings are going to be larger. I think we're going to have rallies. I think we're going to have, like Trump used to have these disturbances in his meetings. I think we're going to have media, and we're going to have plants. There'll be people planted, and they're going to disrupt the meetings like the Book of Acts. I think our security is going to be ready to pull them out. It's going to be like a deliverance service. We're going to see more talk about casting out demons and more trials about hate speech, because we're going to start to call things demons that other people are calling a civil right. And that is going to create some consequences. And I'm not saying it's all going to be good, but it's going to be God. And we're going to see the supernatural coming out strong, because once you start getting deliverance going, miracles show up. Once miracles show up, media is going to still be hard to control. In America, the last liberty to go down is going to be the right to own your own firearm, the right to convene in a group, and the freedom of speech and print. That America's got that in its DNA. It's going to be hard for the devil to take it from us, but those are the fault lines where if the devil pushes and the left tries to take that ground away, then you're going to have civil disruption in different parts of the geography of the United States. That's not a this year phenomena, but that's the toboggan we're on, unless we see great awakening, capture enough of the momentum, like the Jesus movement did in the 70s, to create a disruption of the enemy's plan. And that's something I'm holding out hope for, because I believe God has been saying all along, you guys think deliverance is coming from Donald Trump? You think it's going to come in midterms? No, that's just your own ox cart. Now, the ark doesn't go on the ox cart. The ark is carried on the shoulders of the priesthood of Levites. It's the church that is going to be the deliverance in America, or the church that'll fail the test.
Okay, so what you have talked about in the past, which I want to get in because you brought it up, is that just like Donald Trump was a wrecking ball to the spirit of political correctness in the government mountain, that I believe the wrecking ball is hitting the church. I think that the church is in a state of transition. And I think we're moving away from personal kingdom building and mega churches, and we're moving into an era of, you talk about this, the ecclesia, and honestly, apostolic hubs. I think that we're going to see over the next year to 2 years a moving away from these huge organizations. People are looking for authenticity. People do not trust the government. They don't trust politicians. And honestly, they don't trust the fake, I've got the mask on, I'm the perfect Christian, don't forget to tithe, 45-minute worship service, 3 songs, high song, low song, upbeat song, pastor's coming out, announcements, and it's over. I don't think people are resonating with that. And I think people are leaving church. And as a result, I think we're going to see kind of I'm not going to call it home churches, but I think we're going to see people moving to a different form of church over the next year or two. That's what I think is coming for the church.
Today's episode is too hot to handle and has been edited for the social media censors. Be sure to catch the full episode on podcast apps, Rumble, and Liftable. Now here is Lance.
And I want to remind you of something. Jesus said that when these things begin to happen, look up, because your redemption draws nigh. Remember, he was the one that prophesied that these things were going to happen in the last days. There's going to be times of stress, but the stress does not have to get into you. You can walk in peace. Remember what Jesus said. Let your peace come upon them. And if the Son of Peace is there, your peace will contaminate the atmosphere with peace. But if they're not peaceful, let it come back to you. You never have to leave the place of Holy Spirit-inspired tranquility of emotions and mental tranquility and peace. Shalom. And so I release to you the word. Press into God, because this is going to be a year of God's greater glory, greater deliverance, greater miracles, and greater angelic manifestation than you've ever seen. Many prayers you've been praying for 20 years are going to happen now. They're going to happen now. Now, Mercedes, I'm thinking that one of the things that we ought to do right now is to let people know about how they can prepare themselves for what's coming. And what would you say what they need to do?
Oh, there's so many different things you can do. In fact, I want to talk more in the next broadcast about, we got a lot of financial questions that came in. We'll mention that briefly. We've got a lot of other questions. We'll do one more maybe of these. But I think to prepare, I think first and foremost for me, I think it's important to have a food supply. So I do the food storage. I have about 6 months food stored up because you just don't know what's going to happen in this coming economy. I listened to a couple different podcasts out there, and they're saying, over the next 4 quarters, we really need to have cash on hand, but also make sure you have food supplies stored. So you can go to lancewallnell.com/Patriot, and you can check their special deals out. I know that they've got a special deal up there now. If you hit the page, they've got a lot of different holiday specials. And so listen, I know it looks like a lot, especially if you're looking at like a 6 month, but start like I did. I started with 2 weeks, and then I went to 3 months, and I am at 6 months, and I'm thinking about maybe getting a little bit more for me, myself, and my mom, who lives up the road from me. So I got enough for my family and my mom, and I encourage you to do the same thing for your family. You guys have some as well, right?
We do. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, when we had the big freeze came to Texas, and the Sparks family, Larry and Liberty included, came over to my house. We've suddenly found ourselves living like first century Christians for 2 days there, where we had no electricity. It would be mid-intermittent, and we had to work by candlelight and have conversations and keep the young children, buoyant and happy and encouraged. And I'm telling you something, the Patriot Food Supply, here's the problem with some of these things. You don't think about it till you need it. It's kind of like insurance or a good lawyer. Prepare for the flood before the flood comes. Go to lancewallnell.com/Patriot and at least have a 2-week supply in the event of some natural or even military, as America is going forth to war with Russia. You want to be able to have a couple of weeks of survival, and don't wait till the last minute to think about it. All right, I love you guys. We're going to be coming back tomorrow because this is a sheep nation. America's a sheep nation, not a goat nation, and the sheep nation is rising. And I'm going to see you tomorrow with some good news.
Thanks for listening to this Lance Wallnau broadcast. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure to subscribe and share the